The Industry 101. Here are some highlights in this episode. I don't know if there's a best way because there's so many ways that you can do it. And I think it really has to do with what you're looking to do specifically with your career. That's never a good thing, and that's why you have to be careful. If you set a goal, a financial goal specifically, make sure that you give yourself ample amount of time to reach it. It seems like it's feasible, and it seems like it's something that you can do maybe with a quick turnaround, but that's not always the case. I know that you have to do some kind of spiel, some kind of marketing, some kind of promotional something to let people know that you exist. Nobody just wants to hand you a couple of dollars and send you on your way and then have you blow it. Welcome to the Industry 101. Class is beginning right now. Welcome to the Industry 101, where if you have questions, I'll get you answers. I'm your host, Robbie Jenkins, and when we come back, we're going to talk about funding your independent music career and the advances of digital audio in the music industry. We'll be back shortly. Are you a rap artist, singer, musician, or band? We have a program in development especially for you. Are you ready? Yeah. And we're back. Take your seat and take some notes. You don't want to miss what we have for you in this episode of the Industry 101. And we're back. Welcome again to the Industry 101. Thank you for joining us for this episode. We're going to jump right in. Our first question comes to us from TW of Stamford, Connecticut. And the question is, what's the best way for an independent artist to fund their music career? Wow. I don't know if there's a best way because there's so many ways that you can do it. And I think it really has to do with what you're looking to do specifically with your career, because that will determine how much funding you'll need, and based on that, it will determine how you should go about getting it. There's a number of different ways. Number one, there's one of the most common ways now is crowdfunding. So you have various apps that you can sign up for and get an account. And the way crowdfunding works, in case those of you out there are not familiar, is that you set a goal, a financial goal of what money you're going to need and how much. And in doing that, then you also have a way to describe what you need the money for. So anybody who goes and visits your page will see exactly what your goals are, what you need in order to accomplish that goal. And there's usually a deadline. There's some kind of date that's usually attached to that to let someone know, look, you have to raise this amount of money by this amount of time. And I know with some accounts, if you don't raise the exact amount of money that you've requested by that time, there's a cutoff, and then you actually, the money that someone has already donated, let's say if my goal was $10,000 and I was only able to raise 9,870. I'm just throwing that number out there. If I haven't raised it by that certain amount of time that I've set, then they do cut it off and they return the funds back to the accounts of the people who made the donation. That's never a good thing, and that's why you have to be careful. If you set a goal, a financial goal specifically, make sure that you give yourself ample amount of time to reach it. You don't want to, some people wait to the last minute and decide they want to try to earn this money or collect this money, and it seems like it's feasible, and it seems like it's something that you can do maybe with a quick turnaround, but that's not always the case. So you want to give yourself ample time to really get these amounts that you're requesting, and also to find ways to also kind of draw people in the direction of making a donation for you, because sometimes just putting that page up there is simply not enough for people to, well, it's never enough just to assume that people are just going to stumble across your page and make a donation. I know that you have to do some kind of spiel, some kind of marketing, some kind of promotional something to let people know that you exist, that you're even out there looking for these funds, and give them something that gives them an idea of what they're investing in. So if you're a musician, you're a recording artist, then you want to give them a sample maybe of what you do. So in your marketing plan, you want to probably come up with a way to include some of your previous recordings. If you have a music video, you can include that. Keep it brief. You don't want to hit them with too much. I think a nice little 30-second to maybe 60-second, at the most a minute, presentation lets them know enough in that quick moment. Just think of it this way. It doesn't matter what level someone is financially. People are really short on time, right? And especially people who have funds, because trust me, you're probably not the first person to ask them for money. And so they're getting hit a lot of times. So you want to give them that elevator pitch, as I call it, 30 seconds or less. Here's what I need. Here's why I need it. Here's why I'm approaching you, because I feel that you would be a good match for what I'm trying to do. Can we have a further meeting, right? And it's the same kind of situation that you do in your marketing. This is who I am. This is what I'm presenting. This is when I intend to accomplish this, and here's how you can help me, right? And here's where you can go to get the detailed information. You want to do it as concise as possible, because again, people don't have time to read paragraphs. They'll do bullet points because it's getting right to the point, and they get to see exactly what's going on as quickly as possible in a quick glimpse, and they'll make a decision. The other thing that you can do, aside from what we call the crowdfunding, is there are angel investors. In fact, my first album was recorded simply because of an angel investor who took an interest in me, right? And what they did is they heard me perform live at an event, and they approached me to say, hey, look, that music we heard, who was that? Was that yours? And I told them yes. And they ended up talking to me about making a substantial investment. Angel investors usually don't look for a return on the investment. These are the people that look at, I have some spare cash, some expendable income, and I want to invest it in something that's worthwhile. I can write it off in my taxes, I'll be fine. Right? So there are people that do that. There are brokerage firms that kind of make that marriage for you. The best and the third and final group that I would tell you to really approach are your friends and family. Right? And this doesn't even include your fans at large. That goes into the crowdfunding. But your friends and family that are closest to you, they know your struggle, they know how hard you've worked to make these things happen for you, and they support you. So that's another way to go about it, is to maybe talk to your family and say, look, I'd like to get this album recorded, or I'm trying to support a tour, or I'm trying to get my production company off the ground so that I can produce my own things and I need this equipment. But whatever it is, be very specific about what you need. Do your research and find out exactly how much you're going to really need. Get at least a ballpark figure that's, that is feasible, and then start to ask. Have a business plan in place so that you know exactly what you're going to do with this money, because nobody just wants to hand you a couple of dollars and send you on your way and then have you, blow it. And you don't want them to think that that's what you're going to do. You want them to know that you know exactly what you're doing. Those are usually the best ways to go about it. When we come back, we're going to address another question where someone wants to know, where is the future of digital audio as far as the music industry? Where is it going? We'll be right back. And now we bring you an FYI moment. This moment will present to you an example of some of the things that I mentioned in my responses to question 1. And it's sponsored by Cold Cast Couture, a fashion line that is cut from a different cloth, and Overture Entertainment Incorporated, strong inceptions, lasting impressions. Did you know crowdfunding has been a music industry trend for a minute? Lots of people do it, and you'd be surprised to know who has. The Pixies raised cash for their book. David Tye raised a ton of money to make music for cats. That's right, for cats. Toad the Wet Sprocket funded the new Constellation album this way. Anna Monoguchi was able to give us Endless Fantasy. Gospel artist Carmen funded an album and music video. And if Amanda Palmer could raise over $1 million for a record, art book, and tour, who says it can't be done? Good luck. Coming up next, I'll give you, from a perspective of being a producer and also as an artist, the things that I would wish to be possible with digital audio. They do have outboard gear and effects that they can use to kind of manipulate that. The only problem, there's a challenge. The problem is that if you get something that's really, really good, that it may also start people thinking that maybe they don't need Find out more when we come back.
Provides young people opportunities to use their creative spirit, to develop their individual artistic talents, and to develop new works of art while participants work in a diverse ensemble setting.
Thank you for remaining in your seats and not leaving class. And now, question 2 in this episode of The Industry 101. Don't forget to stick around for your assignment at the end. Welcome back to the second segment of The Industry 101. So we have another question for you. The second question comes to us from SR in Watertown, Connecticut. Thank you for your submission, SR. The question is, what new advancements do you think we will see in digital audio in the next decade in the music industry? Very deep question, very deep. First of all, thank you, SR, for that question. I'm going to start off by saying that I'm not really a technical person per se. Like, I'm not going to rattle off a bunch of technical terms to you in terms of, what happens and what knobs you turn. And I mean, I know a lot of that stuff, but I don't want to delve into that too much. I'll give you, from a perspective of being a producer and also as an artist, the things that I would wish to be possible with digital audio. First of all, knowing music, you know that the most important thing is the audio, the sound of it, being able to hear it. And you do those in two different places. You're either listening to a recorded version of a song, or you're listening to a live performance of it, right? So I think from a producer standpoint, there's certain things that go on in the studio that I think are really crucial to getting that perfect performance of the vocalist. And there's a lot of things that go on outside of just the vocal. There's live instrumentation sometimes. It depends on what style of music. Some people want live drums. Some people may have digital drums that are programmed, but they'll have live drums playing along with it, just to give it a different feel. There's all kinds of different things production-wise. Guitars and basses, sometimes, or keyboards even. Sometimes they'll go what they call DI, which is direct input. Sometimes they may plug into an amp, and then the amp itself is mic'd. So you have to really know microphones and the types of mics to use and when to use them to capture the type of performance that you are looking to get. I think for me, capturing the right vocal it takes the longest. It takes the longest time. There's a thing about being a singer that we have to deal with, which has a lot to do with capturing things without it being distorted or not heard enough. So there's certain things about the distance between where you're standing and the mic that you're singing into and what you do. So for instance, if I'm gonna sing and my dynamic changes where I'm gonna sing something louder, I tend to lean back away from the microphone so that it doesn't get distorted and blow out the speakers. I'm not that powerful, but you know what I'm saying. You don't want it to be distorted. And then if I'm gonna sing something that's softer, I might lean into the mic a little bit so that it's captured. The thing about it is that they do have outboard gear and effects that they can use to kind of manipulate that in post-production when you're doing the final mix or the rough mix and then final mix. You know, you can use compression and you can use limiters. The problem for me with compression is that compression is exactly what it says it is. It's really tightening and pressing things into a space so tight sometimes that you're missing something. It's like breath. Sometimes you want to hear somebody breathe in the song. It sounds, so you know if they're human, and it might even contribute towards the character of the song. If it's too tight, the voice can sound robotic, right? And if you're looking for that, that's fine, if that's the effect that you're looking for. But if you're not looking for that, you don't want to put too much compression. If you have a limiter basically is exactly what it is. You set parameters so that the sound doesn't go past that, so you don't have that distortion thing. So it gives it a ceiling for the sound wave to bounce off of and back down, and you're good. What I would like to see happen is that we have something developed where a singer can go into the booth and stand there and just sing, give the performance that they need, different dynamics, whether it be louder or softer, and not have to change position to do those things or create extra work for them to be able to give that performance. And also, it creates less work for the engineer in the final stages of that recording, which is the mixing, right? They don't have to worry about trying to figure out and tinker around with how much compression to use, not to use, how much of a limiter they have to put on it, that it's set. And there are some engineers, if you work with them on a regular basis, they can get a feel for what you do and have presets already set for you. When you walk in the studio, I press a button, all the effects go where they're supposed to go, the right levels, everything is all set. It would be nice if they had something that did that in real time. So as you're singing, it does that automatically, right? Not only will that cut down on extra work for the engineer, but it also will cut down on the time it takes to mix a song, right? It'll cut a lot of that work in half. The only problem, there's a challenge. The problem is that if you get something that's really, really good, that it may also start people thinking that maybe they don't need certain people to work. Like maybe we don't need an engineer. We just press a button and go in and do what we have to do and it's done. I don't think that'll ever be the case, but you never know how people think. And you never know how well something will be developed to the point where it does get that good. I've even seen it in television where I've gone to do talk shows, and in the midst of doing that, I'm looking, and there's camera crew, right? There's different cameramen, and they're there. There's a guy over here shooting one angle, another one shooting another angle, another one shooting in front of you. Maybe a year or so after that, I went back, and there was nobody there. Everything was done robotically, and it was controlled from inside control room. So that was a little strange, but that's what I'm saying, is that you have to be careful. The live part of it. So you're dealing with a lot. If you're a sound engineer, God bless you, because you're dealing with so much. You have the person who's, if talking about vocally, because that's probably the most difficult part, aside from maybe drums, where they're there, the vocalist is there, but you have to be careful not to pick up the sound from the monitors, the stage monitors that are directly around that vocalist, and the neighboring monitors of other musicians and singers, and also the other the other instrumentation that's on stage. You're dealing with that. You may be also dealing with some of the stuff that comes in from the live performance. Some of the best performances I've seen is where the engineers have engineered everything in the sound check to a point where it sounds just like the record. I mean, just like it. It's so much so that people have to look to make sure people are not lip syncing, right? Now I do know that they have two different mics. There's the omnidirectional mic and the unidirectional. Unidirectional, uni one, meaning it's only recording from one direction. So if I'm standing right here and the mic's in front of me, then it's only recording what I'm directly singing in front of it. If I step to the side, I'll become faint. You won't hear me as much. Omnidirectional means that it's covering everything around you, all in that space. Everything is covered. So that means that it's taking in everything, all the monitors, the crowd and the audience. That's a lot to kind of compress and still get that sound, that quality sound that you want. It's a lot of work. What I see is that within the next 10 years is that there will be some sort of technology that will lessen the amount of work it takes to get that done. Live, which to me is much harder than dealing with it in the studio, because you don't have any control over what's going to happen live. And in the controlled atmosphere of the studio, right? Just trying to really capture those performances in such a way that it doesn't take you as much effort and work to have to put it together. Something in real time that just kind of connects as soon as you say something to it. I'm pretty sure that we're probably not too far away from that now. I would tend to say. All right, so hopefully that answered your question, SR from Watertown. And if it didn't, if there's something else that I missed, please feel free to tap in and let me know. Send me an email address at the bottom of the screen. Send that in and we will get something. We'll get the answer. I have some consultants and people that I can talk to from a more technical standpoint. Maybe I can even have them on the show if they have the time to join me. Okay? All right. Hope that got you. All right. So we'll be right back after these messages. We're growing steadily, but we can only do that with your support. And so for that, I say thank you. Yeah. Get ready to take notes, because here's this week's assignment. Question number 1. What's the best way for an independent artist to fund their music career? During my response, I made it clear that you have to have definite goals. So be clear about what your project will do to help achieve your career goals overall. Investors like long-term results, especially since they're looking for a return on their investment.
Next, I said, be realistic about your budget. How much is it actually going to cost for you to produce this project? Speak to a financial advisor for help. Next, find a crowdfunding source that suits you. There's all kinds out there and they all have different requirements. Make sure you find one that you're comfortable with and that you're able to adhere to. Also, consult your bank officers about investment brokers who service angel investors. Other angels are your family and friends, so don't forget about them. Question number 2. What new advancements do you think we will see in digital audio in the next decade in the music industry? As a producer, I've noticed that sound improvement has always been a thing, especially when you're trying to get a great sound on a vocal. So some sort of automatic level processing that can be done in real time would be key. And as a recording artist, it would help if I could focus more on my recorded performance as opposed to whether I'm distorting levels. This would help reduce the number of retakes. And as a performer, nothing is more piercing to the ear than when you walk past a speaker with an open mic. That feedback noise is crazy. Let's try to see if we can do something about that. And my tip for this episode, be careful what you wish for. Human involvement is always going to be necessary when creating music. Stay grounded.
Well, that about does it for this episode of the Industry 101. I'd like to thank TW of Stamford, Connecticut and SR from Watertown, Connecticut. Thank you for your submissions. That made our show very interesting. And welcome to the Industry 101 family. I want to thank Team 101 for being there as always to be supportive. I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank you for watching and tuning in. Keep coming back. Keep bringing people with you. We're here and we enjoy being able to spread some information to you. So on that note, thank you for coming and we'll see you next time on the Industry 101. I'm your host, Robbie Jenkins, signing off.
Yeah.